No, they're actually that's Morgan's sister.
Well, because I thought she always talk about it.
Somehow my daughter. When you were living in Ballarat Road, Footscray. I do remember that. I remember, I thought, imagine living there, imagine trying to get into there during peak hour.
It was an area, but it's a good area. Yeah, it was good. She came for her birthday. She was surprised. She did not know. She just called and you won't come out of work. You were not there to come.
That wasn't a long time ago.
It was hard for her to come to Canada as a patient, you know, how hard.
My name's Kelly. I'm the funeral director today. Nice to meet you. On this, straight out this hill here, and to the left. So is it just like I'll show you where yeah,
I'm hoping she was there. Margaret, 80th birthday.
Is that right? What did you do? Okay.
I don't still remember what was there. Long time ago, in the 70s. She really has known the weather was good to yeah.
All the same stage.
I think she was one of her birthdays.
It was the last generation.
I remember that year.
With my dad. No, went to Melbourne.
What do you do?
Very heavily involved in working every single day, odd jobs. So I'm home now. I've been putting all my money. That's for the sacrifice. It's hard to get even the record. Well, if you want to make it happen, if you're lucky enough to be able to do it, then you got to hold on to it too. Yeah, with these interest rates. If I don't change jobs, start of the year, I'll be in trouble. But that's chewing up a bit, the extra that I'm making now. Real quick.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I paid an extra $400 a month within a couple of months.
Yeah.
That's probably too getting older if you don't try and refinance. I can't do 30 years now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, real 30 years, well, I can't.
Exactly. I've got no offspring to take out my debt.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
2 minutes, Julia.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are dying. 'Tis you must go, and I must bide. sleep in peace unto you. Come to me.
Well, a beautiful song to begin today's farewell. Before we begin, could I remind you, if you haven't already done so, to switch off your phones or pop them onto silent? That would be much appreciated. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for being here as we gather in loving memory of Margaret. I know that Alan, Carol, John and their families greatly appreciate the love, the support and the friendship that surrounds them at this sad time. My name is Gina Brakey, and it is a privilege to have been invited to officiate today's service for Margaret. It is my hope that every part of this afternoon will honour her in a meaningful way and reflect on the many things that made her the special and unique lady that she was. So firstly, to everyone here in the chapel, welcome, and to those joining us via live stream, a very warm welcome to you all. There are some close family members and friends that can't be here in person, but we do hope that you feel a part of today's farewell. As each of you here in the chapel and those watching online take this time to reflect on your own special memories of Margaret, may you be warmly reminded of how much she has meant to so many. Well, it is with sadness that we are gathered together this afternoon, but it is with grateful hearts we are here to pay tribute and celebrate the life of Margaret Teresa Beattie, or Maggie as she was known, a beloved sister, mother, mother-in-law and granny. Today memories will be shared and you will feel a sadness that Margaret is no longer a physical presence in your lives. However, in spending this time together comes the warmth of a life lived and a love and friendship shared, and memories that will live on long after we say farewell. Today, we will honour Margaret's life with this dedicated moment of warmth and much affection. Well, every life has value and purpose, and every life deserves that pause in our busy day to celebrate that they have lived amongst us. This chapel service for Margaret is testament to that truth. It provides a special time of honouring, reflection and healing, and it is a chance for you to reflect on your own memories in a simple and sincere way. I would like to begin by acknowledging the people who were most special in Margaret's life. She was the loved wife of Morgan, who is no longer with us. She was the loving mother and mother-in-law of Alan and Nicole, Carol and Colin, and John and Tina, and the very proud granny of Julian, Stephen, Emily, Jack and Georgia. To her extended family, including brothers Peter and Brian, and her friends here this afternoon, you were an important part of her life, and I'm sure if she could, she would thank you all for the love and the friendships that you've shared. Well, summing up a person's life is a difficult thing to do, for no eulogy or story can ever truly capture someone's journey. No matter how well each of you here have known Margaret, our words today will never truly do her justice. Everyone here has shared different experiences with her, and you have all known her in different ways, but I'm sure there are many things you have in common. At one time or another, your lives would have been touched by Margaret's gentle, welcoming and friendly nature. Everyone who knew her genuinely loved her. Margaret was caring and giving, and she was always putting others' needs before her own. She was community-minded, she was resilient and stoic, but above all, Margaret will be best remembered for the love that she had for her family. Alan, Carol, John and their families meant the world to her, and she knew how lucky she was to have their unconditional love and support. Margaret's favourite title, however, was Granny, and she was happiest when she was spending time with her grandchildren. They all gave her so much joy. Family was everything to Margaret, and as sad as it is to be saying goodbye to her today, they will bid her farewell today with gratitude and love. Well, at 87 years of age, Margaret has lived a full life, and knowing she is reunited with her beloved Morgan, I hope will bring some comfort. By honouring her memory here this afternoon, we are reminded of all that was meaningful in her life and of the impact that her life has made. Margaret was the sort of person who never wanted or needed a lot of fuss made of her. Today is simply a chance for you to focus on your own happy memories, and this farewell will have just enough fuss that her life deserves. So in preparing for this service, I recently spoke with Carol and she shared with me a few memories of her mum. In a moment, a few close family members will come forward and share their own tributes, but here is just a little reminder about Margaret's life. So Margaret's family were originally from Orbost, but moved to Melbourne where she was born on the 9th of September 1935 to parents Alfred and Mary Watson. She had 5 older siblings, Ethel, Valerie, John, Joyce and Doreen, and 5 younger siblings, Elaine, Peter, Helen, Mary and Brian. Margaret grew up in Essendon and she attended St Teresa Catholic School, walking to and from school every day, and in later years she caught a tram. Margaret's schooling only went to grade 8 and she didn't attend secondary school or university. She did, however, have to repeat grade 5 after an accident when she was hit by a truck loaded with toys. She suffered a serious concussion and head injuries and she missed the rest of the year at school. Carol told me that her mum had a limp all of her life after this accident. Well, growing up during World War II meant that the family had to rely on ration books with coupons, which they would buy food and essentials, and a real treat for Margaret and the family were their roast dinners. The Army were based at Essendon Airport, complete with searchlights looking for enemy planes, and a fond memory for Margaret was a big party for all of the school kids after the war had finished. Margaret's first job was at the age of 15 when she worked at Myer in the dressmaking department. She then worked at Brandella Sock Factory along with many other jobs. She met Bill in Melbourne and they were married in May 1959. Alan was born in 1960, Carol in 62 and John in 64. Bill had been a cook with the Air Force, but in the early 60s he was admitted to a Veterans Affairs hospital for health reasons, and he remained there until he passed away in 1991. Well, Margaret found herself a single mother, bringing up 3 young children, and she decided to move to Ballarat. She involved herself in the community there, and she volunteered a lot of her time as hostess at Sovereign Hill Gold Mine, where she had to wear an amazing old-fashioned gold brush dress. She also volunteered with St John's Ambulance Service. She spent many years living in Ballarat, and Margaret made some wonderful friends during her time there. Well, as a young girl, Margaret's family regularly went back to Orbost to visit cousins, and it was in her late teens that she had met a local boy named Morgan Beattie. Life had taken them in different directions, and it wasn't until the early 90s that they rekindled their friendship. Margaret made the journey back to Numarella to attend a family reunion, and seeing Morgan again changed her life in the best kind of way. It was love at second sight for both of them. Morgan was a kind, caring and gentle man, and made Margaret very happy. They were married in Orbost in 1997, and Margaret moved to live with him in Numarella. Their days were spent out in their garden. Margaret loved to knit and read, and she volunteered at a local op shop. Margaret's love of reading was passed on to her children, and she encouraged the love of books and reading with all of her family. She also enjoyed going to church, but not having had her licence meant that she didn't always get to go. Carol told me that her mum had grown up in a Catholic household, but after some difficult and challenging times, she sacked the Catholic Church and began following the Church of Christ. This group was founded in the Ballarat goldfields over 150 years ago, and they welcomed anyone from different religions wanting to continue their faith. Margaret found great peace with this group, and she enjoyed the friendships she made attending services and being involved. Well, after 30 happy years together, Morgan passed away just over 12 months ago. Margaret's own health had been declining, and she spent a short time at Lockhill House and Waratah Lodge in Orbost before settling into Royal Freemasons Nursing Home in Sale. Everyone at the nursing home loved her, the staff and residents alike, and she celebrated her 87th birthday on the 9th of September this year with family and nursing staff by her side. Well, Margaret passed away 2 weeks ago today, and I know it is giving her family great comfort to know she is at peace and reunited with her beloved Morgan. Margaret will be remembered by you all as someone who was selfless and giving. Nothing was ever too much trouble for her. Probably one of the most beautiful things about Margaret was that she was a mum and granny to more than just her own family. Her door was always open, and it didn't matter who you were or where you came from. She didn't judge, she simply loved you as you were. Carol told me that her mum taught her own children to be independent and strong, and she constantly reminded them all that there wasn't anything they couldn't do. She was encouraging and loving, and she gave everything she had right to the very end, and I know that her family were very proud of her for that. So that's just a very quick snapshot of Margaret's life. As I said, I had a chat with Carol and was scribbling down notes, and it was a really lovely, just a capture of her life. I know that there will be more memories to be shared now, and on that note, I would like to invite Brian, Margaret's brother, who would like to share a few memories of his sister. Thanks, Brian.
I did have some notes here, but Jean has taken most of them. We'll do it again. Margaret was the sixth born of 11 children. She went to school at St Teresa's in Essendon. As a very young child, Margaret and her sisters would get up at 4 a.m. Saturday morning and go with Dad to buy flowers at the Victoria Market, which Mum would make into bunches for Dad to sell at the Coburg Cemetery on Sunday. Dad would often buy hot jam donuts for them at the market as reward for their help. After Margaret married Bill Bradley in 1959, I moved to Collingwood to live, where Bill worked for the PMG, now Aussie Post. Then they moved to Ballarat. After Bill had a mental breakdown due to his experience fighting overseas in the Second World War, Margaret raised 3 children, Alan, Carol and John, on her own. After the breakdown of my first marriage, Margaret welcomed me to live at her home to sort myself out. Whilst still living at Margaret's, she was invited to attend our auntie's 80th birthday in New Morella. When she returned home, she told me about a wonderful time she had catching up with family and meeting an old friend, Morgan Beattie, whom she had not seen since a teenager. A few days later, a large bunch of flowers arrived for Margaret, and her exact words were, "Who would send me flowers?" She then read the card, and it said, Morgan Beattie. Morgan wanted to catch up. As they say, the rest is history. Margaret and Morgan spent 30 years together in New Morella. When I met my second wife, Lynn, I took her to New Morella to meet Margaret and Morgan. They both welcomed Lynn with open arms. We used to visit often, and if we couldn't visit, we would catch up on the phone, with Lynn becoming firm friends with both of them. Following Morgan's death, Margaret moved to the nursing home in Sale. With her health declining, she passed away just after her 87th birthday. We who knew and loved Margaret will miss her, but know she is with her beloved Morgan. Thank you for taking it.
Sorry I stole your thunder. Well, it's good to know we're on the same page, we're sharing the same stories. You had a little bit more detail in a few of those stories though, so thank you for sharing that, that's great. Thanks, Brian. Now, Alan, he's got a few things he'd like to share about his mum.
My first memories of Mum come in the early years up to the age of 4 when we were living in Collingwood. And then Mum took us to live at Wendouree West, which is the Housing Commission side of Ballarat, which is otherwise known as Traralgon West. I found out many years later that my father's health had been declining because due to his war service, his behaviour had become more erratic and one of the local cops had told Mum, I think you better get yourself and your family out of town and go somewhere else. So she applied for and was granted a housing commission house in Windermere West, and so she took Carol, John and myself off to live in Traralgon West. And over the next few years our dad would visit very occasionally, but clearly there was still some conflict there. I remember one time when Mum and Dad were having a row in the kitchen, and Mum picked up a packet of cornflakes and hit him on the head with it. To which I said, don't do that, you'll break the cornflakes. You wouldn't want to ruin breakfast, would you? So in 1968, when I was all of 8 years old, Mum took us from Windermere West to live in Crompton Street in Ballarat North, which was the better place to live because we had a bigger backyard. And there was an event that happened there where Carol convinced both John and myself to use sheets as a parachute and jump off a roof. Well, it worked in the cartoons. What could possibly go wrong? So we all jumped off the wood, the roof of the wood shed, but it wasn't a high enough jump, so Carol said, so we climbed off the roof of the house. And just when Mum came, Carol said, look at this. So we all jumped together onto the concrete footpath, somehow without breaking our ankles, and the parachutes obviously didn't work. Mum screamed, dropped her shopping and broke all the eggs, and we all copped a belting. In the year 1981, I suffered a very bad neck injury while I was playing footy at the City Oval in Ballarat. And I still remember the look on Mum's face when the surgeon told her that I had a fractured C6 vertebrae and that I was going to be in traction for 6 weeks. So she was still visiting us most days, which took a bit of effort because she didn't have a licence. In the same year, Carol and John both had potentially very serious accidents. I think Carol nearly fell off a mountain in New Zealand, somehow avoiding that. So potentially she could have lost all 3 of us in the 1 year, but luckily all of us lived to tell the tale. Then in the 1980s, Mum started working at Sovereign Hill in the period dresses that we heard referring to. I remember Mum often said to me, I'm happiest in my own company. But it was very strange that she was really good at talking to people. Now you would call that customer service. And she was really good at that sort of stuff. And later she did the customer service thing again in the op shop in Orbost. I remember the joy that she had at when Nicole and me were engaged and later married. She was a frequent visitor to our kids' parties. She loved making up lolly bags and meeting the other parents in those kids' parties. I recall when Morgan came into her life, up until that time, she had to go everywhere in Ballarat by walking, by bike riding, or going by bus. Now Morgan was driving her around, and I remember her telling me, it's about time somebody did something for me. And no doubt it was. And I saw some of the pictures of when she was interstate going, because Morgan used to like going to Lightning Ridge and places like that every year. And you could tell that this was a golden period in her life. Unfortunately, in later years, her mobility became very restricted. She had hip accidents. And it was obvious that she wasn't able to travel much, but Nicole and myself managed to talk her into coming to Melbourne for her 80th birthday. So we arranged a birthday for her in a hotel, and it was a big surprise for her when Brian, Peter and Joyce all arrived out of nowhere, coming up the stairs, and there was family as well on Nicole's side. And it was one of the parties that she seemed to most enjoy. That was the last hurrah for her. She was never able to travel again after that. Right near the end, she was in a lot of pain. She missed Morgan, who had died last year. At least she was able to see Stefan every week because he got a job in Sale. Nicole and myself got to see her 2 weeks before she passed. It was just after the anniversary of Morgan's passing. And Julian saw her the following week, and then she died not long after that. I would like to give my thanks to the extended family here for pulling together at the time of Mum's passing to get the funeral working well. I'd like to thank Carol, who handled her affairs for so many years, John, who handled her mobile phone and computer, amongst other things, and Stefan, who was able to hold her hand in the hospital right at the end and be with her with the mobile phones while all of us said our goodbyes to her. Rest in peace, Mum.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful, Alan. Now, John, your turn.
In January last year, we got a call to say that Mum was really unwell. We travelled down to Orbost to be with her. It was lucky in a way. Tina and I were heading over to Launceston, flying to Launceston. We were going to walk Cradle Mountain, and because of COVID, the Tasmanian border closed while we were in the air. And we ended up in Melbourne in COVID isolation for a few days, but we got the call while we were there that Mum was really unwell, and we were expecting her to pass at that time. So in a way that worked out well because we were able to go down to Orbost to visit Mum. We were able to bring Carol down as well, and I think a big advantage of that period was that especially Carol and Tina and Mum got to talk quite openly about how Mum wanted her funeral arrangements to be, to pick out the dress, the ring, all of those details. So much of what you see here today was able to be planned at that time, and that was a really good thing. In August last year, Mum's beloved husband Morgan passed away. It was actually only a couple of weeks after that we actually started making arrangements to move Mum down to Sale. She'd actually been in the Sale nursing home during the fires. Mum got transported to the hospital in an army helicopter,
which she really traumatised her. Actually, she was quite tearful about the shaking up that she got. But I remember saying to her, "You've got the best story out of anyone in the entire nursing home," and she did. And I think she dined out on that story for quite a long time after that. But it was actually only a couple of weeks after Morgan passing that Mum was actually living in a new home in Sale. That was a really good time. We had another year and a bit with Mum when she was in Sale, probably another bit more than a year and a half after we thought that Mum was going to pass away. And that, in a lot of respects for us, for the family, was a bit of a golden period, especially when she got to Sale, and it meant that she was closer to a lot of family. Tina and I got to come down and see her quite a lot and speak to her a lot on the phone. We all got to, and she was closer to family, so I know Brian was able to come up as well, and Lynn, and it was a really good time for her in the end. I think she was much more content in Sale and in a much more caring environment. Mum had a really enormous heart, and I was really grateful that she and Tina got to get to know each other over the period that they did and to have the relationship that they had. These are the memories of Mum that I think I cherish the most. She was the head of the family, the matriarch. She had an endless capacity to accept new people into the family and to love them as her own. It was time, Mum. It was time for you to move on and be with Morgan. You've touched all of our lives in so many positive ways, and we'll miss your warmth, your wit, your wisdom, and your love. I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me, everything that I've achieved in life, and the person I have become is due to the foundation that you provided for me. I love you, Mum. Rest in peace.
Thank you, John. Beautiful memories, and I think what is obvious is, as you said, Margaret was a mum and granny to more than just her own family. She was mum and granny to many. Now to finish our tribute, Stefan, grandson. I think he's got a few things he'd like to say.
Well, Granny was the only grandparent that I've ever known, so she was very special for that reason. She had a massive impact on my life. She was the best granny because she gave us, me and Julian, the best Christmas presents. Yeah, Mum was telling me how I used to apparently speak to her on the phone about which Thomas the Tank Engine trains I wanted. And she always got the best ones. And even when we, I'm a writer now, and I've written about video games, and she also got me and Julian the best video games, the ones that we wanted. So I feel like the fact that she bought those for us influenced, I guess, my interest in life, and when I became a writer, what I wrote about. At the Sale Freemasons nursing home, Granny didn't really like to mix with the other residents so much. In fact, that she asked not to be among, the little events that they had, but she loved the family visits. So I think she would have been really happy with everyone who came out today. And as has been pointed out, she welcomed everyone into the family. She didn't like strangers, but she, partners of us were never strangers. So I'm glad that my girlfriend Elise got to spend time with her as well, and Granny treated her as a member of the family as well. Another memory I have that says a lot about what Granny was at school, in primary school, when we had Grandparents' Day. Granny would come up for that, and I remember there was like this one kid who didn't have any grandparents with him at that stage, so there was this kid and they basically assigned Granny to be that kid's granny as well. And Granny took on the role. She gave the kid a kiss on the head, and this kid was Granny's new grandson. So, Granny did pass away. I guess we did kind of expect it over the last couple of years, but in the end it was pretty sudden. So I'm at peace with the fact that, seeing as I was there, that she didn't spend too much time in a hospital, which is not a fun place to be. And, by coincidence, just not too long after Morgan passed, when she moved to Sale, and then I got the job in Sale by coincidence, and I got to come see her every, at least a couple of times a week, sometimes more. And when I interned for the newspaper, I made an effort to see her every single day. And I do feel like her mood and her health did improve slightly with those visits, so I'm glad that I was able to do that. And there was, at work, where I read the newspapers, we get the printed copy of the paper, and work would always, give a copy to each journalist, and they would always give me 2 papers, because I knew that I'd be going to see Granny that day to give her copy of the paper. And I know that she really liked reading them. I know she spoke to Carol every day on the phone and say how much she liked the papers. And we got to put a birthday notice in the paper a few weeks ago, and spend time on her birthday with her son. Yeah, I'm really glad that that she got to experience all that. And I'm just really glad that she didn't have to spend, when COVID first hit, she still got to spend time with Morgan, so she wasn't totally alone there. And I'm glad that I got to move to Sale to be close to her, so she didn't have to spend the last year or her final days alone either. So yeah, I'm grateful for all that. So, the thing I love most about Granny is that she loved her family and the family's family. And even my close friends, my best friend Reese, they knew Granny, and they called her Granny too. And when she got her Facebook page and she was writing there occasionally, she would write the nicest messages on Facebook, which I'll have to go through and find some of those. But overall, I just want to say that, really going to miss Granny. She was very important to a lot of us. And I'm really glad you're all here, and thank you. You're all here, and thank you.
Thanks, Stefan. Now I believe there's another grandchild that would like to come forward. So, Julia. Thanks, Julia.
So, where are we going today? Said a little boy, sitting on an apricot tree. We're going to Ballarat, said Granny, or as you know her, Margaret. We were sitting in the back tree in the backyard, and as a little boy I was pretending we were all going on the bus, and even into it later in life, Granny would still laugh and chuckle about the little boy confidently turning back saying, "We're not going to Ballarat today, we're going to Chadstone." And even into her later years, she would always tell us stories of me and Stefan being younger. And I was very lucky. Because there was never any candy in the house. Being a son of a Mauritian, it was only fruit. But when Granny came, we could have all the candy we wanted. I can still remember me stepping going, Granny, Granny, Granny. She was the rock star. She gave the best presents. And she always made the effort. This is the second time she's made me do something for her. And every time I've done something for her, I've cried. The last time she asked me to do something, it was to be her page boy at a wedding. And I remember when she asked, I said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to be in front of everyone. And I ran and I hid under the bed. And then slowly Granny came and had a box of Lego. Well, if you're the page boy, you get this Lego. Very quickly I came out and I was the page boy. And it's a fond memory I have to see Granny so happy with Morgan. And it's not often that you get a second chance. And she got that. The last time I saw her was a couple of days after her birthday, which was the 9th of September. The Queen died on the 8th of September. And the first thing Granny said to me when I walked through those doors was, I'm sick and tired about hearing about the Queen. And she had that humour about her. But part of it too, and hearing the tributes of the Queen, it made me think of Granny and how stoic she was despite everything. Keep calm and carry on. Everything will be fine. And she definitely enjoyed her own company, that's for sure. And knitting. She was always knitting at the house. And I can recall I'd sit down with her and I'd be telling her about my day or my games or whatever I'd be talking about, and she'd chime in and she'd say, now my father, or now your brother, and she'd start to tell a story about something. And over the years I started to learn that a lot of the time what she started talking about had absolutely no relevance to what I was talking about. But as a grandson, I had to sit down and listen patiently, confused as to why it was relevant, but she just appreciated the fact that I was there listening. Now, we've been very privileged today to have a lovely photo of Margaret on the back here with the big glasses and the colour there, which is quite ironic considering she would always say to me, I don't like parties. And she would always be sitting there alone at the Mauritian parties, but there would always be one or two people who would spend the time speaking with her. one of, obviously I'm the grandson. My brother Stefan and father Alan. I've been told by a few that we sound very similar. And to Granny, in her later life, when we didn't get to see her as much, there'd be many times I'd be speaking to her on the telephone, and just to hear this similar voice, and she'd be going, just throwing a dart to see if I'm Alan, Stefan, Julian. So after time, I thought the quickest way for her to know who she's speaking with, it wasn't even my name. It's number one. It's number one. That's what she called me. I was the first of 5 grandchildren that she had. And myself and Stefan, we didn't have other grandparents that we can recall because my mother's mother passed away when we were quite young. So it was just Granny. So today, what I really wanted to come here to say was that all these years I was called number one to her. But Granny, you were number one. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Fitting that we finish our tributes with firstborn and grandchild, so thank you for sharing those memories, and thank you for everyone for coming forward today and sharing your tributes. Certainly testament to how much you've loved and respected Margaret. Now, there's a few photos to go through today with 3 songs, and this is a really lovely way to just sit quietly for a moment and enjoy a photo presentation, and it's sort of a lovely way to take a trip down memory lane of Margaret's life with some beautiful songs that have been chosen, so please enjoy this photo presentation.
I wandered today to the hills, Maggie, to watch the scene below. The creek and the creaking old mill, Maggie, as we used to long, long ago. The green growth is gone from the hills, Maggie, where first the daisy sprung. The creaking old mill is still, Maggie, since you and I were young. Oh, they say I am feeble with age, Maggie, my steps are much slower than them. My face is a well-written page, Maggie. Time all alone was the pen. They say we have outlived our time, Maggie. when you and I were young. They say we have outlived our time. Maggie has dated the songs that we've sung. But to me, you're as fair as you were, Maggie, when you and I were young. When you and I were young. Lady, are you crying? Do the tears belong to me? Did you think our time together was all gone? Lady, you've been dreaming. I'm as close as I can be. I swear to you, our time has just begun. Close your eyes, rest your weary mind. I promise I will stay right here beside you. Today our lives were joined, became entwined. I wish you could know how much I love you, lady. Are you happy? Do you feel the way I do? Are there meanings that you've never seen before? Lady, my sweet lady, I just can't believe it's true. And it's like I've never ever loved before. Close your eyes and rest your weary mind. I promise I will stay right here beside you. Today our lives were joined, became entwined. I wish that you could know how much I love the tears belong to me? Did you think our time together was all gone? Lady, my sweet lady, I'm as close as I can be. I swear to you, our time has just begun.
Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would you be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I'll find my way through night and day, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. Time can bring you down, time can bend your knees, time can break the heart, have you begging please, begging please. Beyond the door, there's peace, I'm sure, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret. Happy birthday to you.
Big play. Big play.
Blow the candles out, Margaret. Well
Finish the photo presentation. Some beautiful songs chosen there, so thank you for sharing those. Well, it's hard to capture a person's life in such a short amount of time. The memories and the stories and the photos shared today make up just a small part of the sort of person that Margaret was to you all. While we are united in our sadness at her passing, we are also warmed and comforted by our memories. Let us leave here this afternoon enriched by our memories and with the intention of living our lives to the fullest, with integrity, kindness and generosity in our hearts. We know that Margaret would have wanted that for you all. Be thankful for the closeness you have all had with Margaret. Nothing can change the love, the experiences and the friendships that you've shared. The past is sacred and secure and cannot be changed by time or by circumstance. Time stands still for just a moment as we acknowledge that Margaret has touched our lives and she has left an imprint in our hearts and in our minds. Her passing has left a sense of sadness amongst you all, but I hope it does give you some comfort knowing how much happiness you have each given her and of how much she appreciated and dearly loved you all. Now we have one more song to play before we finish today. When I was chatting with Carol, we had lots of songs and we wanted to include this one. It's In Memoriam by Bill Douglas, the Ars Nova Singers. It's a beautiful song to accompany a basket of rosemary that Kelly's going to bring out in a moment. And I do invite you to come forward and place a sprig of rosemary onto Margaret's coffin as a final goodbye. So enjoy the song, and when Kelly comes out, please feel free to come forward. song to come forward and say farewell. Before we do finish up, I would like to remind you that there are refreshments in the Oak Room, which is just around to my left here, and I know that Margaret's family invite you all to join them after the service today to continue sharing your memories if you are able to. One final poem that I have to share today, titled Afterglow, are words I feel certain Margaret would want you all to remember her by. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when my life is done. Well, now is but a moment in time, and I dedicate the next few moments to every single precious memory associated with Margaret. As we accept life, so must we also accept death as one of the unchanging laws of human design. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose on earth, a time to be born and a time to die. We commend Margaret and the memory we have of her to be cremated, knowing that in time we too shall all join this circle. In closing, I'd like to finish with the Lord's Prayer, and I invite those of you who wish to please join me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. We now commit Margaret's body to be cremated, and we say our final farewell. Margaret, we are thankful to have shared joy in the sun, shelter in the storms, and to have laughed in the same moment. Although there is sadness today as we bid you farewell, there is also gratitude for your life. We are truly grateful for the privilege of having shared life with you. And so, with love, we shall leave you in peace, and with respect, we bid you goodbye. Margaret, we thank you for the memories, and may you rest in eternal peace.